Down fam! So, there are a great many dumb questions on the internet when it comes to gaming and gaming culture. However, I imagine you have heard plenty dumb questions yourself, so once this video is done, I would love for you to get typey down below and let Zembloke know what your dumb ones are. For me personally, the one dumb question I see going around and around and around is, if you could delete one game from your brain so you could play it again for the first time, what game would that be? And I'm like, really? In 2025, this is what we're asking. There's so many wonderful questions that could come up. And this dumb question that's been floating around for years on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky and wherever else, probably Reddit and all, and a zillion other places. Look, let me round this out for you, okay? There's a good reason to why I think this question is bunkum. There's a word I don't use very often. Okay, why it's trash, why it's geek. There you go, that's more Scottish, like geek. Look, I am a full-time working father and a content creator. I get very little chance to actually play the games I have. You ought to see my backlog. You'd poop your pants, okay? I have a massive backlog of games I want to play. And that backlog doesn't get any smaller. It only gets bigger as there's more stuff to do. And more stuff coming down the pipe. Going like, oh, look at me, play me. And most every month on PlayStation Plus, there's usually at least one game I like the look of and download. Sometimes there'll be other games I'll download for my kid to play on my old PS4. But generally speaking, there's at least one thing for me. Sometimes two. Very rarely three. But, so the backlog only continues to grow. So that's reason one. I don't have enough time to play games that I've already played. Sometimes I'll play a game that I've just played to do a second playthrough for reasons like I am now crazy powerful and I want to just absolutely rip the Michael out the game. Or there's a perk to playing the game a second time, like there was stuff you didn't get to see and now you get to see because you get offered other story paths. There's things like that. But generally speaking, unless it's like, you know, a really, really special game, chances are I ain't playing that puppy a second time. Mostly because I've got another game to move on to because my gaming time is limited. But there is a second reason. A touch more psychological reason. One might even put it in the bracket of existential. Possibly. Depending on how you look at that word and how you look at its meaning. But anyway, when you've played a game a really, really long time ago, like say a classic game, where these questions are usually couched, like somebody will mention it in reference to say like playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, I mean the original version and not the defective edition. Although admittedly, apparently they've been fixed a great deal. Not entirely, but the company that fixed them has now been bought by Rockstar. And a lot of people are hoping that Rockstar are going to use the Australian wing of the company to hopefully someday bring back Grand Theft Auto 4 in a really up-to-date manner with new controls, blah blah, and new textures, and hopefully it would look great, and hopefully they don't muck it up if they do so. But that's to the side. So you've got these older games that you fell in love with back in the day, and you go, man, I'd love to play that again, but I remember it too well. Because that's the thing. You want to be surprised by a game to a certain extent. When a game telegraphs its every move at you, it can be less fun. Can be. I'm not saying it is, but can be. Alright? Let's not get all Karen in the comments here. But Most of the time, you have a game, you play it, and you're in a particular spot in your life, psychologically, emotionally, and all that jazz. And that game hits for you in the way it hits for you at the time it hits you. You play that game 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, that game hits different. And sometimes it hits different in a good way. But it always is never going to be the same as the first time being played. But even if you were to play it allegedly for the first time to you, because you've managed to somehow magically wipe that particular memory out of your head, and all the times that are surrounded around it, and all the things you were doing in your life at that time, and not change the causality of those moments, yeah, it gets more tricky when you start to analyse it, doesn't it? The fact of the matter is, there's no guarantee that you would enjoy it the same way, because you are now a different person to what you was then. You might play the game now and dislike it. Or you might play the game now and go and find out that you wiped your memory to play this game, and you wonder why you wiped your memory to play this game, because the game was just alright. It's not as great as you must have obviously thought it to be to wipe your memory to play it again for this first time. And it's just an ultimately fruitless, pointless, internet clickbaity discussion topic question thing. It just is, it's just meaningless and goes nowhere. And it just bugs me forever. Okay? So, like I said at the beginning of the video, if there's a question that you get online and you're sick of reading or hearing, then please let me know down there in that there comment section. As always, I love to read what you guys say, and you know that I always respond. Oh, by the way, on speaking of games of coming out and stuff and memories, I've not done a video on the whole Nintendo Switch 2 thing because there's already been like 1700 billion other videos on it, so I don't know what more I can bring to the conversation, except for the fact is, if I did have the money for a Nintendo Switch 2, I wouldn't, because I'm not paying 80 quid for a digital game and 90 quid for a physical game that isn't even actually the game, it's just a game key. Get it up, you Nintendo. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, aye, nae bother.